Anyhow, good morning everybody. I also detect you can't move very far from it, can you, without you not hearing me? So, I hope you've all had good Christmases, satiated your senses well and truly, probably abused them a little bit. But I hope you enjoyed it. Christmas is behind us now. The religious pantomimes are done, the costumes put away, the leftovers stashed in the fridge, family have packed up, wended their weary way home, and here we are, left with ourselves, to ourselves. Now what? During the Christmas season, one of the most important questions, in fact, I think the most important question for the Christian disciple, is seldom, if ever, asked. We're far too busy heading in the opposite direction, telling ourselves and each other about Jesus, what he is, how his birth created this wonderful phantasmagoria that we call church, giving him names like Powerful God, Wonderful Counselor, Prince of Peace, and so on. Not that this is bad. On the contrary, it's all part of the Christmas liturgy. However, these names aren't so useful when the rubber hits the road. In the everyday mix of life, when we're trying to keep our head above water as card-carrying Christians. The question, the one we seldom if ever ask, is the question, who is this Jesus Christ? The Eastern Christian theologian John Mandorf mooted that the whole Christian faith depends entirely upon the way in which that very question is answered. So here we are, ardent students of Christ, sitting on our sofa, the dust of Christmas having settled, and now wondering what to do with ourselves. That is, after the ideas of beach, days of lazing around, convivial social engagement, that's beer and barbecue, and other summer delights have been exhausted. It's at those times that this question, who is Jesus Christ, might inveigle its way into our otherwise satiated headspace. The question is an important question, because we can't go very far on our Christian journey without engaging it and attempting to answer it. However, in truth, there probably really isn't an answer to the question. Or perhaps there are many answers depending on where we are on our spiritual journey at any given time. Recently, I saw a piece of art that has Jesus bungee jumping off the cross. The image intrigued me. I wanted to cut the bungee cord so that Jesus could fly free of all the conditions, names, and constraints that we have laid on him over the centuries, having him perpetually nailed to the cross and hung on our walls like some sort of gaming trophy. Free him to be who we need him to be for ourselves in the present moment. Who is Jesus Christ? It's a hard one. We have to get out of our heads and into our hearts to even catch a glimmer of this heavenly conundrum. And then we have to go deeply to find its resonance within our own vulnerable selves. The name of God, that is, who God is, and by theological implication, the name and identity of Jesus Christ, is conventionally translated in our Bibles as Lord. This is a two-step process of the translation of the Hebrew consonants Yod, Hey, Vav, Hey, the original name of God in the Hebrew Scriptures. There are no vowels as part of this name, so it's not known exactly how it was pronounced, although in modern times it's often pronounced with vowels as Yahweh. In the history of the Hebrew religion, the name of God was considered too holy for mortals to pronounce, and the Hebrew word Adonai was substituted for Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, Yahweh. The Greek-speaking writers of the Christian texts followed suit, using the Greek word Kyrios for the Hebrew Adonai, which in turn translates into English as Lord. Thus, we largely have Lord as the identifier of God in the Bible. Some years ago, the poet and Zen teacher Norman Fisher transcribed a number of the Hebrew Psalms. Fisher himself came from a Jewish background. I find these Psalms of Fisher's some of the most beautiful renditions of these ancient Hebrew prayers that I have encountered. Prayers that we use day in and day out in our churches. Fisher, in his translation of the Psalms, instead of using Yahweh, Adonai, or Lord as the name and identifier of God, uses the expression, you of unsayable presence. For me, this expression offers a segue to that question, who is Jesus Christ? A question it would seem that is almost impossible to answer completely, at least to our theological satisfaction. Any sayable answer will miss the mark, because the answering of this question can't be said, and it can't be heard. It can only be known and felt. In Fisher's Psalms, in Psalm 1, he translates the first two verses like this. Happy is the one who walks otherwise than in the manner of the heedless, who stands otherwise than in the way of the twisted, who does not sit in the seat of the scornful, but finds delight in the loveliness of things, and lives by that pattern all day and all night. I find it hard to find a better description of Jesus Christ in this season than the one who delights in the loveliness of things and has us live that way all day and all night.